Hello, darling. This is River Roaring, celebrating the luminous life force in us all. Hello, darling. I'm River Roaring, and this episode is Scene Shopping, Dating with a Twist. This is co-creating sensual experience from desire to reality. What if dating was super, super fun, energizing, juicy, hot, and awesome? Anybody resonate? I remember when it wasn't for me in my life. And I want to tell you a story about my own scene shopping last week, because this kind of an outlook and attitude about dating and meeting people and having a sensual or erotic experience or arousing experience, this kind of attitude of adventure and co-creation is at the heart of wonderful dating instead of super anxious, dreadful dating, which I have done in the past over 20 years ago. And now I have a new way of doing it. So last week I went to the East Austin Kinksters Happy Hour. And that's a group in Austin that I organized or co-organized for 13 years. The East Austin Kinksters. And I hadn't been in a few months to their happy hour, so I went out and I thought, you know what, I'm not just going out tonight, I want to do something fun. I want to scene shop. So let me think and dream, no thinking, dreaming, let me dream and vision as the day goes forward. What scene would I love to do that I could shop for tonight at the kink happy hour? It's kind of like a kink munch or happy hour. And inside the kink scene, I'm going to describe more about it later, but inside the kink scene, we call an arousing interaction a scene. So I'm scene shopping. So as the day went on, I dreamt here and there into what would I like to shop for tonight? And poof, a vision came in very quickly into my head. It was very clear. I want to be tied to the 12th Street Bridge over I-35 horizontally and have something stuffed in my mouth and have a picture taken. That's what came through. And every time I do dreaming and I vision deep into my imagination, into the recesses and the cavities of my imagination, and come back out with a vision, a dream, I call it a dream, it's always wild and wonderful because my logical mind did not come up with it. So that's an important part of the story. So I went out to the East Austin Kinksters with my scene in my mind that I wanted to shop for. And I went in there and that's what I did. So as I was speaking with a crowd of people, strangers or not, we would introduce to one another, and then I would be like, so what are you into? Kink-wise, since we're at a kink munch, it was on theme. It's like, hey, what are you into kink-wise? And each person would answer, and I really enjoy listening to that answer. I'm always captivated. Sometimes I have some questions like, oh, okay, how do you do that? What do you do with that? You know, people at this kind of an environment like to share that. That's what we're there for. So I was listening to other people's desires and fantasies. And then at some point I would say, oh, for me, I'm scene shopping tonight. And they were like, oh, what's that? I'm like, oh, I'm shopping for a scene. Do you want to hear about it? And then when I got a yes, I am shopping for someone who will tie me to the 12th Street Bridge over I-35, not on the side where I will fall down into the traffic, horizontally, and put a gag in my mouth and take a picture. And what I wear is negotiable. I'm not clear on that yet, and I'm up in the air and open for suggestions on that. Hey, anything you're interested in, or do you know anyone else who might be really good for this? And then the person would be like, oh, let me think. Okay, interesting. They may have some questions. And then like, oh, I don't know, I tie some rope, I might be interested. Or, oh, I don't know, over here is another person who ties rope, if you want to go talk to them. And so I had some mild interest, and I kept bringing this up in conversation and listening to other people's desires and simply sharing my specific scene that I'm looking for with someone I've never met before and or don't know well. And then the group got together that evening and did some introductions around the group. And this one guy in the group is like, hey, my name is so-and-so, and I have a group called so-and-so that is for tying rope and taking pictures. That's what our group does. And I'm like, ooh, duly noted, duly noted. So as soon as the introductions and conversations and the group were over, of course, I went up to said gentleman and was like, oh, I understand you are really into rope and pictures. And he's like, yep. And I said, I'm scene shopping. And he goes, actually, I had kind of overheard your conversation to the side earlier. I kind of heard about that. Tell me more. And I'm like, I'd love to tell you more. This is what I'm seeking. I want to be tied to the 12th Street Bridge over I-35 horizontally with a gag in my mouth and a picture taken. And are you interested in negotiating that with me and finding out if we're a fit, or do you know anyone else who'd be good for that? And he was like, oh, after some thought, he's like, I might be interested in doing that. And also there's this guy in our group named blah, blah, blah. And I was like, oh, I know blah, blah, blah. And he's like, yeah, blah, blah, blah might want to do it. I'm like, oh yeah, I've known blah, blah, blah a long time. And I think they even predate me in the scene. I've been in there 20 years in the kink scene. They're very good reputation. They're the best at tying rope. And I have seen some of blah, blah, blah's photography of rope that was so astounding, I bought some. I asked if, and it wasn't even for sale. I was just like, may I pay you for this image? I haven't even used it yet in my emails or what have you, but it's so good. So here we are. I have a potential person right in front of me to negotiate my scene with, and I also have a backup who's a guy I already know and really love and trust. He's awesome. It hadn't entered my mind. So as the night went on, we were like, oh, okay, well, let's, we tossed around some ideas like, oh, and I was like, oh, well, you know what just came through for me is I think I would really love a shot from like a half a block away. It'd be like, wait a minute, is that a girl tied to the bridge over the highway? And just be like, huh? And he's like, wow, that's a cool idea. So we were like, hey, let's talk on FET about this. And for those of you who don't know, FetLife is sort of like the kinky Facebook. And so I think when I looked in Austin last time, there were 60,000 plus people in Austin on FetLife. And so he's like, hey, let's take it. I'm like, hey, you want me to catch up with you on FET? Yes. So we have been messaging on FetLife now, and I sent him a message today, and we're just discussing how to negotiate this scene. And he was like, oh, actually, the more I sit with it, I think I'd be even more into taking the pictures for it. I liked your idea of the long shot, and I kind of want to stake out the area, and I'm pretty excited about actually being the photographer. So maybe it'd be worth talking to the other person for the tying of the rope. And he's like, we might have more than one photographer. And I'm like, whoa, I was just setting out for a super simple, really easy scene with one person, but this seems like it's turning multiplayer. And he's like, yeah. And and then I was like, oh, now that I've read the description of your group gets together to make art with rope and photography. Maybe this ends up being the subject matter for your group meeting, and it's kind of a big multiplayer situation. And someone else along the way, while I was conversing with people that evening at the happy hour, someone else had said, hey, why don't you make it a challenge? It'll go viral. Make it like a tying to bridges challenge. I'm like, oh my God, that's so brilliant. So that's where we are today. I have not yet performed or executed the scene, and I'm super excited and juiced about it, and I'm 100% sure it's going to happen. It's just a matter of putting the right people together in the right day and having a lot of fun with it. You know, I want every person involved to be doing something that turns them on the most. That's what kink is all about. So we may have a multiplayer situation, my darling, and when I come up with the photos, yes, I will share them on my email list, probably, where I share so many really cool insider things. So hop on my email list if you aren't on there yet at riverroaring.com. Now let's back up and look at the process of scene shopping. So what is going on in the world? I am a sexual healer, a sexual sovereignty way shower. All day long in my professional life, I work with people one-on-one, and also I have small group workshops and some larger group evening events. And I've been doing this going on a 15 years. And so I'm talking with people all day about sex and dating and relationships, romantic relationship. And what I've seen lately is so much anxiety about dating, so much anxiety and so much worry over whether they are going to like me. You know, like I want to make myself likable to the world. And what I'm suggesting here in this podcast is that you flip the chessboard completely over, and instead you go out dating going, I desire something, and who's going to fulfill my desire? I am shopping. I'm not trying to modify myself to fit in with everybody else who's looking for a date. I am asking the outside world to modify itself to exactly what I want in my next date. So this is a pretty radical way of taking sovereignty over your dating process by choosing your desire that you're looking for. And a lot of people look for a person, and this is also a little bit different because instead of looking for a person, I'm looking for a situation. I'm looking for an experience. And then I'm shopping for the people who could give me that experience, and they might have a ton of fun too. In fact, that's kind of a requirement. And so this process is really very radical and really brings you into sovereignty over your own sexuality and your own dating process. So I want to break down what scene shopping is and how to do it. And this works inside the kink scene, where I have existed for 20 years, and also it works very well outside of the kink scene. And I'm going to break down each one without taking too much time and make it simple. I'm going to endeavor to make it simple and clear. So first I want to talk about what is scene shopping within the kink scene. First of all, what is the kink scene? There is a group of people who have been meeting one-on-one and in groups, very often in groups, it's like a hobby group, and the hobby is kink play, K-I-N-K. So people who get aroused by kink come toward this community. I'm going to call it a community, and where I would say the hub of the community is very clearly at this point in modern times on FetLife. FetLife is a platform, F-E-T-L-I-F-E. It's like the kinky Facebook, and like I said, you can click on any city, and I clicked on Austin, and I think it was 60 to 70,000 people in Austin are on FetLife. And FetLife is not really as much a dating app at all. I wouldn't call it a dating app at all. I would call it a place to find out where the events are in your locality and go meet people in person at the events. And there's lots of different kinds of events in the kink scene, and maybe someday I'll do a podcast just about the kink scene. And inside, so there are two different words, scene, inside the kink scene. There's a capital S, like the whole kink community is called the scene. So sometimes people talk about the whole community in the whole world is called the scene. And then, sort of with a small s, another meaning of that word inside the community is a specific time of arousing play with a beginning and an end. And so a small s scene in the kink world is a playtime that has its bookended by a beginning and an end. It's a scene. And what we do in the kink world is there is a very loose but also very time-tested basic protocol for the process for entering into kink scenes. And why this started this, I think why the kink community is so very advanced at negotiating and consent issues is because starting in the 1950s, the kink scene was full of people who were doing things that are very dangerous, and you don't want to do it with someone you don't trust. So if you're going to have someone tie you up, you don't do that with just anybody. So the whole kink scene, as the big whole kink scene, was developed as in part to create safe spaces where kinksters can explore their wildest kinks in a relatively safe or safe enough space. And so lots of protocols and sort of ethics and expectations have built up around how this happens. And the basic components of a kink scene is, number one, the negotiation of the scene. Number two, the scene itself, which begins, it has all the stuff you agree to do inside it, and it ends. And then number three, aftercare. What happens immediately after the scene is over? And number four, a debriefing 2 or 3 days later about how it went. Highs and lows, ups and downs, challenges and opportunities, and celebrations. So in other words, when we're getting together in the kink world to decide if we're going to do something together, kinky, and do it together, there are 4 parts. 1, negotiation. 2, the scene itself. 3, aftercare. 4, debriefing. So if you're going to do kink scene shopping, here are the steps. First, find your deep desire in your wild imagination by dreaming and visioning. Don't try to think with your logical mind about what you want. That's not where desire lives. So go into some still space, maybe a quick meditation or dreaming, daydreaming or visioning process, and access the recesses of your imagination to find your desire. For this practice, keep it simple yet powerful, because I'm advising and I'm encouraging you to go shop for a scene with strangers. And so start with a simple but powerful desire that's relatively short so that you would be willing to try it with a stranger. As you get to know and trust your partners, ramp up your visions and desires into more radical and crazy stuff. Okay, first is find your desire by dreaming. Second, prepare to pitch it. So just practice saying in 1 or 2 sentences what it is. Just as simply as I did. I was like, I want to be tied up on the 12th Street Bridge over I-35 horizontally with something stuffed in my mouth and a picture taken. Dress and clothing are negotiable. So prepare to pitch your desire. Make it quick and simple. Step number 3, go out and socialize at a kink environment, like a kink munch. They call them munches when we're just hanging out in regular clothing, visiting with one another, getting to know one another outside of the actual parties. And then when you're at the kink environment, munch, happy hour, have desire-forward conversations. So once you get into that social environment, listen, did you hear what I did in my story? I did not ask anybody what they do for a living. You're like, well, how'd your day go today? Meh, meh, meh. You're like, no. That's why people have social anxiety, because so many conversations are so boring. No boring conversations. So once you get out there to socialize, just ask what they're into. Hey, what are you into as far as kink goes? And really listen. What turns you on the most as far as kink goes? What scene would be the next scene you would really love to do as far as kink goes? Really listen to them. Ask any questions you might have. Consider whether they may be a fit for what you're looking for. And have that, and really listen to people. It's really, most people just love sharing their fantasies once they get going. And then let them know you're scene shopping and ask if they'd like to hear your desire. If they say yes, share it. Practice your pitch. Share it really sincerely. And then maybe say something like, any interest in this? Or if not, do you know who might be interested in doing this with me? Inside the kink community, we start to get to know what each other are into. And so I might be speaking with someone who's not really into that rope tying or photography, but they might point across the room to someone like, yes, they over there are really into rope. And that's kind of what happened to me. So always ask, hey, if it's not you who feels like a fit for this, do you know anyone else who might be interested? And then follow the leads. And once you find someone, like I did at the party, that doesn't mean we're going to do it for sure. That means we're going to follow the kink protocol. We're going to negotiate. So me and this guy I met are talking about when and how we're going to actually negotiate the scene. Like, okay, here's what I really want. Here are the details. Okay, here's what I have. Here's what I want to do. Here's what I don't want to do. You know, here's, for this one, it's my desire, so I'm going to be like the director of the play when we negotiate and find out what everyone else is willing to do. So be a good kinkster, and if you find someone who's super interested, go ahead and proceed with the basic protocol. Then you start with the concrete negotiation of the scene, and then set the date and do the scene together. And then make sure in your negotiation you talk about your aftercare and what you both are going to want after the scene for comfort and restabilization. And do it. And then 2 or 3 days later, for best practices, pro tip, 2 or 3 days after the scene, get in touch with your partner and go, hey, just want to check in with you. How are you doing? Would you like to have a conversation with me about highlights, lowlights, and how the whole thing went and how you're feeling about it all right now? That's called debriefing. It's a great practice. So there you go. That's how you scene shop inside the kink scene. Now, if you are not in the kink scene, then this is easily adapted to experience shopping. So you are going to be experience shopping. Once again, you're not dating so that you can find out how you can become the most likable to everybody else out there. No, screw that. You're not changing yourself at all. You're dating to find a person, or let's say a person, to have fun with you doing what you decided you want to do. And so you're shopping for an experience. It's even easier and more fun than actually shopping for the person, because it takes the pressure off of you, trying to assess this person as a human. And instead, you're just all focused on this really cool art project of having an experience. And then you get to know the person along the way. And of course, you're going to find partners this way anyway. So if you are going to experience shop outside of the kink scene, you have a lot of the basic same steps. First of all, dream, daydream, vision, find your desire. Keep it simple and powerful if you're going to shop with the strangers, and ramp it up as you know and trust your partner. So for instance, it's an awesome experience to shop for to take a walk outside and hold hands, and then put a blanket on the ground and spoon one another for 10 minutes each. I'm just making these up. It's a great experience to shop for like 1 to 2 hours of cuddling at my place, or 1 to 2 hours of cuddling at your place, or going to a movie and holding hands during the movie, or having some dinner and sharing sexual fantasies throughout the whole dinner with one another. I'm totally out there, just totally randomly coming up with stuff, but I hope you see the point I'm making is that these are relatively simple experiences, yet powerful. And so you would be willing to do with a stranger who you felt good enough with to do it. Once you have your vision and your desire, simple yet powerful, that really gets you juicy, this really seems like really like a lot of fun, then prepare to pitch it. Prepare your elevator pitch. So make it down to 1 or 2 sentences. I am seeking blah, 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 blah. Very, very simple and clear. Number 3, step 3, socialize out and about. Have desire-forward conversations. In other words, lead with desire. Like, what's your desire? This is what I'm into. Now, this could be done online, but it's a lot more fun and juicy in person. And so I do highly recommend for bonus points to be doing this in person. Once you get out there socializing in person or online, ask, what are you looking for? Are you seeking new partners? Sometimes I'm in an environment where I don't know if people are seeking new partners. I'm like, oh, are you looking for a new partner to play with? Are you seeking new partners? Are you in the market for a new partner to play with? That might be a first question if we don't even know we're in like a pickup environment, so to speak. And then I'm like, yeah, I'm looking for new partners. I'm like, oh, what are you really into? What turns you on? What kind of experiences are you really looking for? Just ask them. And then again, really listen, really ask questions if you have questions about what they're sharing, and consider whether they might be a fit. And then whether or not they're a fit, and this is important. I had someone say to me, well, I don't want to scene shop with this person because they're not a fit. And no, that's not the point. The point is that you share it anyway. I always share it, especially when I know there's not a fit. No problem, because I am going to ask them at the end, do you know someone else who might be interested? And the point here is for me to have a lot of fun shopping, not for me to hold everything inside and wait for just the right person. That's not the exercise. That's not the practice. The practice is I'm shopping. I'm putting it out there. Because somebody might know somebody if it's not them. So I don't care if we're a fit or not. I still ask them, oh, I'm shopping for an experience. Would you like to hear my desire for that? Whether or not you think they're the one for it. This is a really important part of it because we're socializing differently. We're revealing what we're wanting. And so once they say, yes, I would like to hear your desire, share it sincerely, use your elevator pitch. And then, hey, do you have any interest in this? Or if not, do you know anyone else who might be interested in having this kind of experience with me? And then follow the leads. And I would say that even though you're not in the kink scene, you can be a leader and you can follow some basically smart dating protocol. You know, you could still follow this beautiful kink format of negotiation and then scene and then aftercare and then debriefing. So in the negotiation, you let them know, hey, I'd like to talk the situation over and clarify. Now that it seems like we're probably a fit for this, I'd like to talk the situation over with you and clarify exactly what you're wanting and what they're willing to do. So like, hey, and now I want to get so it's crystal clear between us and see if we really are a match. I feel good that we're a match. Now I want to really check in under the hood. This is the time then to ask questions, to make sure they share in your vision of the experience and that they get what you're talking about. Talk about what you both like to do directly after an experience like this. This is the aftercare. So it's really professional and pro tip to be like, hey, now we're talking about having this experience together. Is there anything that you know you would love afterward? as a way to ground yourself or stabilize yourself back from the experience into reality again. And then tell them what you like. Yeah. Look, for many years I enjoyed peanut butter and bananas. And now it's not that anymore, but I do like a good cuddle after an experience. And finally, the debrief. Ask them, hey, may I check in with you 2 or 3 days afterward, after the experience, so that we can give each other updates on how it's sitting with you after the whole glow wears off, so to speak. So you can still set up negotiation, scene, aftercare, and debriefing in your negotiation. And then do the scene. Have the experience. Give yourself lots of space to be relaxed. Take it nice and slow. And relish. You're getting exactly what you want. You dreamt something up and you're getting it. And then right after the experience, aftercare, do the things you both agreed to do to be coming back to comfort and grounding and regulation. And then debriefing, check in 2 or 3 days afterward as agreed between you, and see how it's sitting with both of you. And for these scene shopping and experience shopping activities, I recommend that you have no expectation of any further play. You know, that you're just scene shopping or experience shopping. It's over and successful when you get the experience. Done. Full success. Put the flag at the top of the hill. Celebrate. Let the balloons fly. Let all the confetti out. Like, celebrate it all. If you shopped for an experience and you got it, you're complete. You know how to dream something up and create it with the universe successfully. That is the point of the practice. Now, of course, if you both had fun, this could be the beginning of something really fun and beautiful with you and that partner. So that's always out there as a possibility, but that's not the point of this. So, did you try it? Are you going to try it? How does it feel to think about trying it? Do you notice that you can actually live a life like this? You can use and adapt this model to get exactly what you want out of every aspect of life. So scene shopping is almost like a metaphor for all of life. And most of all, you will have a lot of fun, baby. It's awesome. So I want to emphasize that if you want to scene shop or experience shop instead of regular dating, you may have some really positive outcomes that may end up affecting a lot of other parts of your life where you realize, I was kind of checked out and I wasn't remembering that this part of my life can go exactly as I want it to. I'm not here on earth to actually slave in ways I don't want to. I'm here to create the world around me that I want to create. So I would love to hear from you if you try this. How did it go? I would love to hear about it. If you find this podcast in a social media area, leave a comment under the podcast and I'll find it and we can be in communication. Or you can shoot me an email by visiting my website at riverroaring.com and click on Get Connected, Let's Talk River, and share your question, reflection, or insight there. I really would love to know if you try scene shopping or experience shopping, dating with a twist, so that you co-create the sensual experiences that you want from now on, from desire to reality. Because, my darling, I am here to support all of you who are called to bring maximum love and light into your lives, to have liberated self-expression in all realms, where all is sacred, connecting with you to create a cosmic web of love and light throughout the realms. Wherever you are, there's a web between us, my love, because together we can step into a more harmonious vibration. Together, we can fly higher, shifting human consciousness forever for the highest good of all beings. So, my darling, may the love be with you, and may the love be with us all.